We were sitting at the Woolworth in downtown Dallas, my husband Mark's favorite spots. It was a Friday night, and the place was buzzing soft, jazz playing, couples laughing, glasses clinking. I had dressed up for him. Blue dress, gold earrings, a little perfume. I wanted to feel like we were still us. Mark looked sharp, as always, gray blazer, crisp shirt, that easy smile he wore like armor. He had suggested dinner out, said we needed time together. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. We had just ordered when the waitress came over. She was young, maybe mid-20s, with curly brown hair and a confident walk. She looked at Mark, smiled, and said, "Should I bring the drink you usually have with your girlfriend, or are you trying something new tonight?" I blinked. Mark froze. My heart stopped. "What did you say?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. The waitress looked at me, then back at Mark. "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought." She hesitated. "I must have confused you with someone else." Mark leaned forward, his voice tight. "You're mistaken. I think you're confusing me with someone else." She nodded quickly and walked away. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I stared at Mark. He was already reaching for his water, pretending nothing had happened. "She's confused," he said. "I've never seen her before." I didn't respond. I looked around the restaurant. Everything felt louder. The lights too bright, the music too sharp. My stomach turned. I barely touched my food. Mark kept talking about work, about traffic, about nothing. I nodded, smiled when I had to. But inside, something cracked. On the drive home, he played music. He even sang along. I stared out the window, watching the city blur past Elm Street, Deep Ellum Lakewood. Everything looked the same, but nothing felt the same. When we got home, he kissed me on the cheek. "I'm going to take a shower," he said. I nodded, but I walked into the living room and sat on the couch. I stared at the wall. My hands were cold. I picked up my phone and opened my notes app. I typed, "The waitress knew something. I need to find out what." That was the moment I stopped being the woman who trusted blindly. That was the moment I started becoming someone else. I couldn't sleep that night. Mark was snoring softly beside me, like nothing had happened, but my mind was racing. The waitress's words kept echoing in my head. "Should I bring the drink you usually have with your girlfriend?" She didn't say friend. She said girlfriend. I stared at the ceiling, my heart pounding. Was it possible she really mistook him for someone else? Or was she telling the truth without realizing it? I needed answers. The next morning, I got up early. Mark was still asleep. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, and opened my laptop. I searched for the Woolworth's website, found their number. I stared at it for a long time before dialing. A woman answered. "Good morning, Woolworth. How can I help you?" "Hi," I said. "I was there last night with my husband. I think our waitress may have confused him with someone else. I just wanted to ask, does she work there often?" There was a pause. "Oh, you must mean Rachel. She's been with us for a while." Very sharp memory. Sharp memory. I thanked her and hung up. So Rachel wasn't new. She knew regulars. She knew Mark. I felt sick. I waited until Mark left for work. He kissed me on the forehead and said, "Let's do something fun this weekend." I smiled, but inside I was already planning something else. I drove back to the Woolworth around noon. I wore sunglasses and a hoodie. I didn't want anyone to recognize me. I sat at the bar and waited. After about 20 minutes, I saw her. Rachel, the waitress from last night. She was talking to another server, laughing. I walked over. "Hi," I said. "Can I talk to you for a minute?" She looked at me, confused. Then her eyes widened. "I'm so sorry about last night," she said quickly. "I really thought you thought." "What?" I asked. She hesitated. "I thought your husband was someone else. He comes in here often, with a woman. They sit at the same table. He orders the same drink." I felt my throat tighten. "What does she look like?" I asked. Rachel looked uncomfortable. "Blonde, younger, always dressed up. They seem close." I nodded. Double quotes. "Do you know her name?" "No," she said, "but I've seen them here at least 5 or 6 times. I thanked her and walked out. I didn't cry. Not yet. I drove around aimlessly for a while, past Clyde Warren Park, past the Perot Museum, past the places Mark and I used to go. Everything looked different now. When I got home, I opened my laptop again. I searched for private investigators in Dallas, found one with good reviews, James Holloway Investigations, based in Uptown. I called. A man answered. "James Holloway, I need help," I said. "I think my husband is cheating." He asked a few questions. I gave him Mark's full name, his workplace, his car details. "I'll start today," he said. "You'll hear from me in a few days." I hung up and stared at the wall. I had just hired someone to follow my husband. This wasn't me. I was the loyal wife, the trusting partner. But something had changed. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was hurt, confused, and tired of pretending. That night, Mark came home with flowers. Just because, he said. I smiled and put them in a vase. We ate dinner, watched a movie. He held my hand. But I kept thinking about Rachel, about the blonde woman, about the drink he always ordered. I didn't sleep again. 3 days later, James called. I have something, he said. We met at a coffee shop near Mockingbird Station. He handed me a folder. Inside were photos. Mark, with a woman, blonde, smiling, holding hands. They were at a boutique in the Bishop Arts District, then at a wine bar, then at a hotel. I stared at the photos. This is her, I said. James nodded. They've been seeing each other for months. I thanked him and paid him. Then I drove home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat on the couch and stared at the wall. Mark came home an hour later. He kissed me, asked how my day was. I said, fine. He smiled. I smiled back, but inside, something new was growing. Not just pain, not just betrayal, something colder, something sharper. I wasn't going to confront him, not yet. I was going to wait, and when the time was right, I was going to make sure he never forgot what he did to me. After I saw the photos, something inside me changed. I wasn't the same woman who smiled through dinners and ignored late-night phone calls. I wasn't the same wife who believed every excuse, every lie, every "I'm just tired." I had seen the truth. Mark was cheating. He had a whole other life, and I had been living in the shadows of it. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't confront him. I stayed quiet. I knew if I exploded now, it would be over too fast. He'd deny it. He'd twist the story. He'd make me look crazy. No. I needed time. I needed a plan. So I started changing slowly, silently. I began waking up earlier. I'd sit on the porch with my coffee and notebook. I started writing everything down. Not just what he did, but how I felt, how I had ignored the signs, how I had lost myself. I wrote about the waitress, about the boutique in Bishop Arts, about the hotel receipts James had found. I wrote about the woman in the photos, Chloe. She looked young, pretty, confident. I wondered if she knew about me, if she knew Mark was married, if she cared. I didn't hate her. Not yet. I hated the lies. I hated the way Mark kissed me goodnight after spending the day with someone else. I hated the way he made me feel small, so I started building myself back up. I signed up for therapy at a wellness center near Mockingbird Station. My therapist's name was Linda. She was kind, calm, and didn't ask too many questions. She let me talk. She let me cry. She let me sit in silence when I needed to. I told her everything, not just about Mark, but about me. How I had stopped painting, stopped reading, stopped laughing. How I had become a ghost in my own life. Linda said, healing starts with truth. I believed her. I started painting again. I bought a canvas and some cheap brushes from a store in Lakewood. I didn't care if it looked good. I just wanted to feel something. I painted a woman standing in the rain. Alone. Strong. I hung it in my bedroom. Mark didn't notice. He was too busy pretending everything was fine. He still brought me flowers, still kissed me good morning, still told me he loved me. I smiled. I said thank you. I played along. But inside, I was building something. I started recording voice notes, little pieces of my story, my thoughts, my pain. I didn't know what I'd do with them, but I knew I wanted to remember this feeling. Not the heartbreak, but the awakening. I started walking more. I'd go to Clyde Warren Park in the evenings, watch the families, the couples, the joggers. I'd sit on a bench and listen to music. Sometimes I'd cry. Sometimes I'd smile. I was becoming someone else, not bitter, not broken. Just awake. One day, I walked into a bookstore in Bishop Arts District. I saw Chloe. She was standing near the poetry section, wearing a red dress, laughing with a friend. I froze. She didn't see me. I watched her for a moment. She looked happy, free. I wondered if she knew. If she knew the man she was dating was married. If she knew he kissed his wife goodbye before meeting her. I didn't approach her. Not yet. I walked out and sat in my car. My hands were shaking. I wasn't ready, but I would be. That night, I made a decision. I was going to tell my story. Not just to Mark, not just to Chloe. to everyone. I was going to take my pain and turn it into paha. I didn't know how yet, but I knew it was coming. Mark had buried me in lies, but I was digging myself out. And when I stood up, I was going to make sure the whole world saw me. I had spent weeks pretending to smile, pretending to sleep, pretending to be the same woman Mark married, but I wasn't her anymore. I had changed. Every morning, I woke up with a plan. Every night, I added another piece to the puzzle. I wasn't just healing, I was preparing. Mark had no idea. He still brought me flowers, still kissed me goodnight, still told me he loved me, but I knew the truth. And soon, everyone else would too. I started collecting everything: receipts, photos, screenshots, voice recordings. I had the waitress's voice saved. I had the private investigator's report. I had pictures of Mark and Chloe holding hands, laughing, walking into a hotel. I even had a video of them together taken from across the street, grainy but clear. I kept everything in a folder labeled truth. I knew I couldn't just confront him in private. He'd twist it, he'd lie, he'd cry. No. I wanted the world to see who he really was, so I planned a party. I told Mark it was for our anniversary, 10 years together. He smiled, said it was a great idea. I booked a venue, Sanj Restaurant and Bar, in Irving. It was elegant, warm, and perfect for what I had in mind. I invited our friends, our neighbors, his co-workers, even his parents. Mark was excited. He bought a new suit. He ordered a cake. He had no idea what was coming. I worked with a videographer, someone I found online. I told him I was making a tribute video for my husband. He helped me edit everything. The photos, the texts, the recordings. We added music. Slow, sad, then sharp. I recorded a voiceover. This is the man I loved. This is the man who buried me in lies. This is the truth. I watched the video 100 times. Each time, I felt stronger. The night of the party arrived. I wore a black dress. Simple, elegant. Mark looked at me and smiled. "You look beautiful," he said. I smiled. "BAFTA, thank you." We arrived at the restaurant. The lights were soft. The tables were set. The guests were laughing. Mark was glowing. He walked around, shaking hands, hugging people. I stood near the screen. The projector was ready. The video was loaded. I waited until dinner was served, until the wine was poured, until the cake was brought out. Then I tapped my glass. "Thank you all for coming," I said. "I made something special for Mark. A video, a tribute." Everyone clapped. Mark looked touched. The lights dimmed. The video began. At first it showed happy moments, our wedding, vacations, smiles. Then it changed. Photos of Mark and Chloe, texts, receipts, the waitress's voice. "Should I bring the drink you usually have with your girlfriend?" Gasps filled the room. Mark's face turned pale. He stood up. "Emily, what is this?" I didn't answer. The video kept playing. The hotel footage, the boutique, the voiceover. "This is the man I loved. This is the man who buried me in lies. This is the truth." Silence. Then whispers. Then someone stood up and walked out. Then another. Mark looked around, panicked. "Emily, stop this." I turned to him. "No." He reached for the projector. I stepped in front of him. "Don't touch it." He froze. I looked at the guests. "I wanted you all to know, this is what I've lived with. This is what I've survived." I walked out. I didn't look back. Outside, the air was cool. I felt light. Free. I got in my car and drove, past the streets we used to walk, past the places we used to laugh. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed. For the first time in months, I felt alive. The night of the party changed everything. I had spent weeks planning it, rehearsing it, preparing for every reaction, but nothing could prepare me for the silence that followed. After I walked out of Sanj Restaurant, I didn't look back. I didn't wait to see Mark's face. I didn't care what the guests said. I just drove. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't feel anything at all. I parked near White Rock Lake, rolled down the windows, and sat there in the dark. The water was still. The air was cool. I could hear crickets and the soft hum of traffic in the distance. I felt empty, but not broken. I had done what I needed to do. I had shown the truth. I had taken back my voice. The next morning, I woke up in my own bed, alone. Mark didn't come home. I didn't expect him to. I made coffee, sat on the porch, and watched the sunrise. It was quiet, peaceful. For the first time in months, I felt calm. Later that day, I got a message from Rachel, the waitress. She wrote, "I saw the video. You're brave. Thank you for standing up." I smiled. Then, another message came from a woman I didn't know. I was at the party. I've been through something similar. You gave me strength. More messages followed. Women, men, strangers. They had seen the video. They had heard my story, and they wanted to share theirs. I didn't expect that. I had planned the party to expose Mark. But something bigger was happening. People were listening, so I started writing again. Not just in my notebook online. I created a blog called Buried Truths. I wrote about betrayal, about silence, about healing. I didn't name Mark. I didn't need to. I wrote about how it feels to be lied to, how it feels to doubt yourself, how it feels to rise again. The blog grew fast. People shared it, commented, sent messages. I was building a community. I started recording my voice notes as podcast episodes, simple, raw, real. I talked about the night at the Woolworth, about the moment I knew, about the quiet revenge. I didn't scream, I didn't curse, I just told the truth, and people listened. I moved out of the house in Lakewood. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I found a small apartment near Clyde Warren Park. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. I painted the walls soft yellow, hung my artwork, bought a new couch. I started fresh. Mark tried to reach out. He called, texted, even showed up once. I didn't answer. I didn't open the door. He left a note. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I threw it away. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. I had spent too long waiting for him to change. Now, I was changing for myself. I started volunteering at a women's center near Mockingbird Station. I met women who had been through worse. Abuse, abandonment, loss. We talked, we cried, we healed. I wasn't alone. One day, I was invited to speak at a local event, Voices of Dallas. They wanted me to share my story. I stood on a small stage, holding a microphone, looking at a room full of strangers, and I spoke. I told them about the restaurant, about the waitress, about the party. I told them about the silence, the pain, the strength. When I finished, the room was quiet. Then someone clapped, then another dot, then everyone. I smiled. I had buried my truth for too long now. I was letting it bloom. That it had been 3 months since the party. 3 months since I stood in front of everyone and showed them the truth. 3 months since I walked out of that restaurant and into a new life. I had changed. I wasn't the woman who cried in silence anymore. I wasn't the wife who waited for answers. I was someone else. Now, my blog, Buried Truths, had grown. People from all over Dallas and beyond were reading it. They sent messages. They shared their stories. They thanked me. I didn't expect that. I had written for myself, to heal, to breathe. But now, I was helping others do the same. One morning, I got an email from a local radio station. They wanted me to come in for an interview. They had heard my podcast. They said my voice mattered. I said yes. The studio was in downtown Dallas, near Victory Park. I wore a simple blouse and jeans. No makeup. Just me. The host, Tasha, was warm and welcoming. She asked me about the night at the Woolworth, about the waitress, about the party. I told her everything. I didn't hold back. When the interview aired, the response was overwhelming. More messages, more stories, more women saying, me too. I felt proud, not because I had exposed Mark, but because I had turned pain into power then. One afternoon, I got a message that stopped me cold. It was from Chloe, the woman in the photos, the woman Mark had been seeing. Her message was short. I didn't know. I'm sorry. Can we talk? I stared at it for a long time. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Part of me wanted answers. I replied, okay, tomorrow, 4 p.m., Clyde Warren Park. She agreed. The next day, I arrived early. I sat on a bench near the fountain, watching the kids play and the dogs run. Then I saw her. She looked nervous. She wore a black sweater and jeans. Her hair was tied back. She walked over slowly. Hi, she said. Hi. She sat beside me. I didn't know he was married, she said. I swear. He told me he was divorced, that his wife had moved away. I nodded. I believe you. She looked surprised. You do? Yes, I said, because I've seen how good he is at lying. She looked down. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm not angry at you, I said. I was, for a while. But now, I just feel sorry for both of us. We sat in silence. Then she said, I left him. I looked at her. He tried to explain everything after the party. Said you were crazy. Said it was all fake. I smiled. That sounds like him. But I knew, she said. I saw the video. I saw your face. I knew he was lying. I nodded. Double quotes. Thank you for reaching out. She looked at me. You're strong. I didn't feel strong. Not always, but I had survived, and that was enough. We parted ways with a quiet goodbye. I never saw her again. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note. I'm sorry. I never meant to hurt you. I lost everything. I hope you find peace. It was from Mark. I folded the letter and placed it in the folder labeled Truth. Then I closed it. I didn't need it anymore. I had told my story. I had faced the storm. I had walked through the fire. And I was still standing. That night, I walked to the door of my apartment. I stood there for a moment. Then I knocked, just once, softly. It was symbolic, a reminder of the night I was buried in lies, of the night I knocked on my own door, and of the woman who answered. Me.